Happy Victory Monday to you and yours. It is the 16th of December, and after tonight, Sarah, it's officially week 16 of this NFL regular season. And for the Ravens, of course, a quick turning of the page, if you will, for round 2 of the rivalry. It's the Steelers and Ravens coming up on Saturday, and really the division's on the line in a lot of ways. If Pittsburgh wins, they win the division outright. If the Ravens win, just yet another chance, and their chances will increase, of course. And if they win out, they got a pretty darn good chance of taking this division after Philadelphia beats Pittsburgh last night. We'll get to that in just a bit. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I'm Bobby Trossett. As always, joined alongside Sarah Ellison, and my partner's running hot today. There's a lot going on, and she has spent a decent amount of her morning on X getting after this MVP discussion. And Sarah, I know you know, and we know that it's a full 17-game, 18-week season that helps decide this race. And you have quite a few folks, some of whom are voters, looking to decide this thing and crown it through 15 weeks. The betting favorite is Josh Allen, deservedly so. He's been on an unbelievable tear, and the Bills currently sit in pretty darn good position as the second overall seed in the AFC. But as we know, this thing was won and lost late in the month of December last year. And I certainly feel like there's still a good chance of that being the case. So one of many things that we'll discuss right off the top. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Bobby. I messed up my morning. I usually work out every morning before we come on the show, but I missed my morning workout. I'll do it right after the show because I was arguing online with MVP voters, Bills fans, and even Ravens fans who continue to say that they don't care about the MVP race. But it just, to me, it feels like a nasty agenda, Bobby. It's a nasty agenda when you've got MVP voters after week 15 declaring that the race is over. The race is over with 3 games yet to be played. Dan Orlovsky on Twitter last night said the MVP race is over. That's it. That's his tweet. That's it. Emmanuel Acho said we should all unanimously agree that Josh Allen is the NFL MVP. And then he goes on to give stats for the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks. So is that what we're doing? Is like Josh Allen has gone off the last 2 weeks, Bobby. Gone off. Let's give him his due. Let's give him his praise. Let's give him his love. He also lost one of those games. Lamar Jackson was on bye, and then he played the Giants. And so he had 5 touchdowns. Nobody wants to talk about it because it was against the Giants. Fine. But do you know why? The Bills and Josh Allen need it to be over right now? Because they go on to play the Pats, Jets, and Pats again for the final three games of the season. So Josh Allen cannot help his case over the last 3 weeks, even if he balls out, any more than Lamar helped his case yesterday against the Giants. It's so irresponsible I want to get this straight. Dan Orlovsky, I love that guy. I love him. I listen to him almost every day. Acho, I know Ravens Flock doesn't love him. I like him because he engages with his arguments. He doesn't just shut people down. We've had Dan on the show before. We've had I've had Twitter back and forth with Acho twice before. And he's been cool with the back and forth. So I have nothing but love for both of these guys. And I've got nothing but love for Josh Allen. But to declare a game over in the beginning of the fourth quarter when you're the referee, these 2 guys are the referees. They have votes. And they're declaring it over in week 15. I just think because now it's to the point where if, let's say Lamar balls out over the next two games against Pittsburgh and Houston, 2 playoff games. He balls out, and Josh just plays well against the Pats and the Jets. So that doesn't count anymore because Josh just happened to have his 2 big games at a time that Lamar was having a bye and playing the Giants. No. That's because now if he balls out, they just stuck their neck out? Are they going to be able to be like, oh, my bad, Lamar is still playing well, and it was against 2 big games. Like at this point, they're not going to want to change it after they stuck their necks out. You can't do that when you're an MVP voter, in my view.
Orlovsky, you have his tweet on the slide here on our graphic. Here's more context provided earlier today on ESPN.
The race is over, folks. In 2024, number 17's running away with this. And that's saying a lot because Saquon Barkley and Lamar Jackson are having tremendous seasons. What this dude is doing right now is absolutely unbelievable. Okay, I want everyone very much so to understand what I'm saying statistically. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks, no fumbles. He's done it in back-to-back weeks. Nobody in the history of the NFL has done that. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, no fumbles, no sacks. He's done it in back-to-back weeks.
Crazy.
Those other players are having great seasons. The MVP's over.
Enter Rex Ryan.
And is playing. This is a rebuild year.
Yeah.
He played without his 2 top receivers for years. Just came in the league. We're just going to give him anybody. And look at the year he's having. Like, it's crazy. The MVP, if anybody votes for somebody other than Josh Allen for the MVP, take their MVP vote away and give it to somebody who actually knows the game. This is a joke.
And what about Teddy Bruschi bringing some sanity to the discussion?
I'm fortunate to have a vote for the AP, and this is really the arguments for second place, really, because Josh Allen is at the top. I mean, this is right now. I mean, I don't want to say it's over. There's still time to go. It's just because I'm only saying that because I'm a voter.
Okay. So Rex and Dan, Sarah saying it's over through 15 weeks, and Rex obviously takes it to another level in terms of like just the hyperbole that he uses. Yeah, just take their voting privileges away. Whereas Teddy's like, hey, let's pump the brakes here. It is week 15. And then to your point, Lamar's got a couple signature moments ahead of him. I should say at least a couple signature moment opportunities ahead of him, which begins on Saturday against a team that has had his number throughout the last 7 years, and that is the biggest rival of the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers. From there, it'll be a standalone game on Christmas Day against Houston, and that's something that RG3 said, hey, it's not over till it's over. Listen to him earlier today with your friend, Kay Adams.
The MVP of a 4-game stretch. It's not the MVP of a 6-game stretch. It's not the MVP at the beginning. It's not just the MVP at the end. Great. So last week, Saquon Barkley was number 1 in the MVP race. A couple weeks before that, it was Lamar Jackson, and nobody questioned it. So how you finish matters. And Kay, we have the blessing of watching Lamar Jackson play against a playoff team in the Houston Texans on national TV in almost 200 countries, and how you finish matters. The Bills have 3 games left, and so do the Ravens. Well, the Bills are going to play teams that have a combined record of 7-21 that are not making the playoffs.
Oh.
Lamar and the Ravens are going to play 2 teams that have a combined record of 19-9 in the Steelers and the Texans. And to me, if Lamar goes on Christmas Day and has the game he had against the New York Giants, I believe he wins the MVP in that situation because it's on prime time galactical TV. Okay, everybody is going to be watching this, and I can't say enough about the season that Lamar's had. If you put them side by side for the season, Lamar beats Josh Allen in every statistical category except for rushing touchdowns.
And that, Sarah, has been obviously a topic of discussion for weeks now. It's the head-to-head statistical breakdown between Josh and Lamar, and we'll have updates on that through now 15 weeks. But you wanted to get into some of your exchanges earlier today specifically.
Well, I just think that RG3 is preaching. Like, again, Josh Allen has had 2 phenomenal weeks. Lamar, a bye, and Giants. And then Lamar didn't play great against the Steelers or the Eagles. But obviously, if there are field goals made, this would be a completely different discussion. And then nobody is talking about how Lamar beat him head-to-head. So again, and that is basically my point. I went back to Emmanuel Acho, and I know he was getting ready this morning for a show. Same with Dan Orlovsky. We got to check back in with Dan, see if we can get him on the show, because I feel like we need answers. There's my response to Emmanuel. I'm not going to read it all, but it was long, and an even longer one to Dan Orlovsky. And the point being is some of the ones I've already done. You can't. This is an award for an entire regular season. How you can cherry pick certain games is not okay. You're an MVP voter. You need to be answering the way Bruschi did. Bruschi was like, look, I feel like right now the race is for second place. But as an MVP voter, I can't declare it over, he said. You can't do that. And so you can take, like, if we're just going to start taking stretches, let's take that week 4 game and say, oh, it's Lamar versus Allen. Or you can take Lamar's stretches against when he was going off against the Bucks, who's are they still a playoff team? I don't know if they've fallen
they're
off.
Gonna be. They're gonna be.
Bucks a playoff team. I mean, Lamar went off, and which is why to RG3's point, he was number 1 in the lead, but nobody said it was over, but nobody questioned it when he was number 1. And so to declare it over as an MVP voter is just wrong. So you've got that you're now talking about a stretch rather than a season. Now you've got that Lamar beat Josh Allen, and I mean in a big way, 35-10. Josh Allen had no touchdowns, Bobby, $180 in yards, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was like a 60, somewhere between 60 and 80 quarterback rating, and it was against the number 2 pass defense in the league in the Ravens. The Ravens have since improved after they've benched some people, but they were number 32 for a long time, including leading into week 4. And Josh Allen was dismantled. Then we've got the argument that why is this fair that Lamar gets his 2 big games in week 16 and 17, whereas Josh had his in 14 and 15? Why do we declare that over? Yes, of course, it's more impressive to beat the Lions and the Giants, but it's going to be more impressive if the Ravens are able to beat the Steelers, a division foe, which is the hardest to beat. And they have the lead in the division right now. That's going to be massive.
Now, who did you mean to say there, though? The Lions and the who? Not the Giants. The Lions and the who?
No, the Ravens beat the Giants and the Bills beat the Lions. And of course, it's more impressive to beat the Lions. But the point is next week when the Ravens play the Steelers, if they were to win, that win would be much more impressive than the Bills beating the Pats.
Sure.
So why are we just cherry picking stretches? Now, if Lamar gets beat and he plays poorly against the Steelers, then you can maybe get closer to calling it over. But he's got his 2 signature opportunities coming up. Also, we haven't even discussed the whole idea of value, which is the quarterback betrayal index, which I introduced to at least our audience. Maybe they've heard it before, but the first time we talked about it on our show. And that that Lamar is the most betrayed quarterback in the NFL by his special teams and defense. Okay. And then finally, you have to account for what we've all been saying, which is that Lamar is just up in every single statistical category, minus rushing touchdowns, but overall touchdowns, Lamar still has more. Every major one. You want to talk about completion percentage, passing yards per attempt, passing yards per game, passing touchdowns, fewer interceptions, the quarterback rate, rushing. I mean, rushing yards, put it all in there. And so to me, I get that Josh Allen has the better record right now. Lamar Jackson is the most betrayed quarterback. And then he has the better stats. And so this to me says this is neck and neck. And you got to let it play out. You've got to let it play out when it's that neck and neck. Those are my arguments to those 2 guys. And I feel like they should have to give an explanation of why everything we just brought up doesn't count after week 15.
Yeah, I think it's fair that the betting favorite right now is Josh. I don't think anybody's arguing that. I think the big argument here, I think that's got you feeling passionate today is why has the race been declared over by some voters?
Right.
And I think you're absolutely warranted. Your feelings, your sentiments are absolutely warranted and justified because it's week 15. Week 15 ends tonight. And as RG3 mentioned, this is a full body of work. So yes, right now, if it were to be a 15-week award,
right,
Josh Allen would be the guy, and deservedly so. He's been on an unbelievable tear this year. And when you look at the numbers, yeah, Lamar hasn't beat in the statistical numbers, aside from win-loss record and running back, and rushing touchdowns, like you mentioned. But I think what a lot of people, especially in Bills country, want people to realize outside of Buffalo is that he's doing this having lost a lot. They lost Stephon Diggs. There was a full offseason worth appetite media wise in terms of what the Bills would look like without Stephon Diggs. You lose Gabe Davis, you lose Micah Hyde on the defensive side of the ball. Matt Milano goes down, their stud linebacker, due to injury. And so what he's doing with less, I guess, is probably why Buffalo is feeling very, very passionate, just as passionate as you and a lot of folks are within the Ravens fan base. And you can understand that, right?
Oh,
what they're doing. Yeah.
Make that case, make that argument.
Sure.
And then Ravens faithful will come back and say, well, Lamar has 3 brand new offensive linemen. Lamar has
and Derek.
And Derek. Yeah. Derek, obviously an improvement, but the offensive lineman, a massive adjustment. Then on the defensive side, you've got a brand new defensive coordinator, the number 32 pass defense for the vast majority of the season. You lost your top interceptions leader, you miss your top sacks leader, and you miss your starting inside linebacker in Patrick Queen. And so, like, you can talk about turnover for both sides. Both these guys are carrying their teams. There's no question about it. So this is the most subjective award that there is. And so I like that Bills faithful will come in and point all that out. That's great. Ravens faithful will come in and point out all their stuff. And that's why I'm saying, to me, it's neck and neck, and let it play out.
Yes.
Let it play out. Both guys are for sure carrying their teams. No doubt. Yes. And this is not a session where we're taking jabs at Josh. It's just irresponsible to declare it over in week 15 when they have the votes. It's like, oh, great. So Lamar, nothing Lamar can do from here on out means anything.
We're in agreement. And not to mention, if you go back a couple months ago, preseason, degree of difficulty, schedule-wise, the only team that had it more challenging in terms of the index from last year was the Cleveland Browns than the Ravens. So that has to be taken into account too. And of course, it was a murderer's row of opponents right out the gate for the Ravens. And they've been battle tested. They've withstood the test. And as have the Buffalo Bills. You see Josh over the last 3 games, 14 total touchdowns, over 1,000 total yards, a completion percentage of 63.4, and he's played cleanly. No giveaways, no sacks taken. And of course, yesterday, another signature win as well over the Detroit Lions, one of the NFC, if not the best team in the NFC. We'll have to see how that shakes out over the next few weeks. But 48-42 was the final. Buffalo improves, and you see the numbers that he put up individually in that game: 430 total yards, 4 total touchdowns. One other national reaction, and this came on Sunday from former Pittsburgh Steeler, actually, Bryant McFadden, who actually took Lamar's side in this whole MVP race.
Performance due to tighten that MVP conversation a bit?
Well, I felt like, me and you, we've talked about this conversation week in and week out. Josh Allen is the odds favorite right now, but individually speaking, let's keep it real. If you were to compare the numbers for Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, there's nothing to compare. Lamar Jackson has been 10 times better than Josh Allen. Josh Allen has had a few moments, right? You can go back to the Bills versus Chiefs game, the lateral. He's had some moments, but look at the moments that Lamar Jackson has been able to put forth. Look at how dominant he's been from the start of the season to currently now in the month of December. Lamar Jackson has been, his numbers right now actually have been better than what he did a year ago at this point when he won the award. So what are we talking about? I mean, you have to be real. I understand the overall team record plays a big part, but when you talk about just the dominance that we've seen from Lamar Jackson, he's been the most dominant quarterback in the National Football League. And if you were asking me, Joe, who should be the favorite right now, today, it should be Lamar Jackson. And I felt that way before today's matchup against the New York Giants, because he's been outstanding when you look at his numbers currently compared to what he's done in years past when he brought home the MVP.
So there you have it, Sarah. You get the sense we're just gearing up for something over the next few weeks, and this will change. The odds will change. The eye test will change. But Lamar has a massive opportunity over the next 3 weeks to turn this national conversation around solely based on the opportunity that the next 3 games present him.
But will the voters change? And that's what we're kind of discussing this morning, how they can declare that so early. I want to say one other point. If Lamar somehow, and we're going to get into the Steelers conversation, I know we need to get to Super Jets first before we get into the Steelers conversation, but if Lamar somehow leads the Ravens and takes over the AFC North and becomes the 3 seed. I've heard all morning that, well, they give it to the guys that are the 1 or 2 seed. I mean, so you have to give it to this 2 seed over the 3 seed? Like, if Lamar is able to run the table, somehow snatch the AFC North lead from the Steelers and are now the 3rd seed right behind the Bills, who are the 2 seed, and he already beat the Bills head to head, that's not a big enough argument? That's crazy.
Compelling. It's compelling. And he's going to have it. It all starts on Saturday. If you win, you not only maintain a chance for the AFC North, but you win against Pittsburgh. And that's been a knock when you look as an MVP voter at Lamar's season and you're looking at specific games and the magnitude of the moment that comes with Pittsburgh, Baltimore. That is one of the knocks. We can talk about Justin Tucker, obviously, all we want, and his impact and the factor that he had in that game. But that's a knock. So let's keep this conversation moving. Appreciate you guys for being here. This will continue to be part of the conversation for sure over the next few weeks as we gear up for a postseason race and January football. And today is brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep, the official sleep mask partner of us here inside the vault. And what you're looking at up on the screen is the trusty, reliable, silk, and slick Manta Sleep Mask Pro. It gives you true 100% blackout for a deeper sleep. You've got C-shaped eye cups for unbeatable side sleep comfort. 0 pressures applied to your eyelids or lashes. And you've got advanced materials built in for ventilation and unmatched breathability. If you find something you like at mantasleep.com, which can be found in the show notes, it's also a pinned comment right now in the live chat. Use our discount code at checkout. That's VAULT10, VAULT10. You'll get 10% off your next purchase. And I'll just bring you over to the site here real quick as well, because the Manta Sleep Mask Pro is just one of many that they have available right now. When you go over to me and Sarah's landing page, you'll see that the Sound Mask is their built-in Bluetooth feature mask, which is a bestseller. The Manta Sleep Mask Pro, which is right here as well. And the Silk and the Sleep Mask, sort of the OG collections here. Super easy to navigate this site. And you can go visit it, mantasleep.com. We appreciate their continued support of our channel. And hopefully you guys get involved in the gift-giving side of things. Perfect time of year to do so. All right, partner. So coming up on Saturday. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to, of course, in just a second here in terms of what the Ravens need to do in order to extend their chances of taking the AFC North. Captain Hard hits us with a super chat and says, didn't care about the MVP, but now I'm pissed. The fact that they didn't make it seem like
My Lamar? Do you mean my Lamar?
It's just so far behind when in reality he's number 1. He also writes, Josh Allen is the Joel Embiid and Lamar is Jokic. MVP fatigue. Julian Chambers.
There's probably some fatigue out there.
Some NBA equivalent there.
Yeah.
Julian Chambers writes, just wanted to say to you, Bobby, and everyone, thank you for the prayers yesterday, and just wanted to say the Ravens have to clean up the penalties and solve the Brandon Stevens problem going forward. For sure, Jewel. Hope you're doing well, brother. Truth says the last time the media glazed Josh and the Bills this much was when they were 3-0. We were 1-2, and we beat the brakes off of them. Deja vu for playoffs this time. BG Method says, sup, Flock. Bobby and Sarah, let's get it. I was at the games. Baltimore fans all over MetLife.
Nice.
Lamar's out there with no sleeves. LJ is about to make history. 40 touchdowns, 4 picks, 4,000 passing yards, 800 rushing yards. Best player. Hope you enjoyed the trip, BG. I have Horace Torres. What's up, Torres? Says Julian called the win. I had doubt, but MV3 is back. Edwin says, I can see a co-MVP in Lamar and Josh like McNair and Manning were years ago. Meanwhile, though, Mahomes, like I'm collecting Lombardis. I beat LJ and Josh Allen. Truth says, by the way, he's week to week with an ankle injury as Patrick Mahomes. Truth Bearer says, if the Rams make the playoffs over the Seahawks, Josh Allen will only be 2-3 against playoff teams. Lamar has a chance to finish 7-3 against playoff teams if we beat Houston in Pittsburgh.
That's just another excellent argument because everybody keeps talking about the record and the seeding. And by far, the Ravens have had the #1 strength of schedule.
They have been
Far.
battle tested and then some. Deb James 25 says Josh equals 36 touchdowns to 5 turnovers. Lamar's 37-7. Ravens have more talent, so narrative goes to Josh having more team success with a weaker roster.
That's just not true. If you look at the quarterback betrayal index, it's just not true in the way that they're playing.
Angie writes, when Josh had a chance to silence the haters this season, he got torched at the bank. So much they benched him to save face. Facts is facts. Well, did their backup come into the game? Is that what they mean? Is that what she means? I think well, who was it? Is it Mitch? Is it Trubisky? Who came in for Josh? Yeah, the game was out of hand. He didn't get benched because of play. It was the game was out of hand.
The game was out of hand, which Lamar got to be sacked, because he's winning. Lamar with Allen, it's like, well, let's not risk him because there's no way we can win.
Yeah. SM2208 says Saturday's a must-win game. Lamar and the offense must show up, and the rest will take care of itself. Must win if you want a couple things to happen. 1, you want to stay in the division race. And 2, you want to start to turn this narrative around. It's really not a narrative. Facts, which is Pittsburgh having Baltimore's number. What was it 8 of the last 9?
And the MVP narrative. I thought that's where you were going.
Well, yeah, that's obviously a part of it too. But the stuff that, like, I don't know, to me, the stuff that matters more is the division race. And I know legacy is absolutely a part of the MVP discussion. I'm not disputing you there whatsoever. But to me, the things that are more notable, his record against his bitter rival, and the AFC North still being up for grabs. Those, to me, trump the MVP candidacy going into this weekend.
Well, I mean, I don't understand the point of ranking them. All of them are important. You can have all of them. You could lose all of them.
Yeah, but sure. But I think the things that matter in terms of this year and overall resume-wise for Lamar, it's he can't get past Pittsburgh, and obviously the division is up for grabs. So I would, if we're ranking, which we don't need to, but if we're ranking, I would put those above MVP candidacy going into the weekend. Anyway.
Well, if he plays like an MVP, those two things will handle themselves.
Guess we'll see. You never know with Ravens Steelers.
Like, how else is he going to change the narrative? Bobby, how are the Ravens going to beat the Steelers and keep the AFC North alive? And how are the Ravens going to change the narrative that the Steelers have his number unless he plays like an MVP level?
I could very much see the Ravens win a game without Lamar at MVP level on Saturday. It's Ravens Steelers. It's Ravens Steelers. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I guess
strange things happen.
We may have a difference in what MVP level looks like against the Steelers. MVP level against the Giants, he has to put up 5 touchdowns. If Lamar puts up 2 touchdowns and is able to keep and has no mistakes, and they're able to beat the Steelers, that's an MVP level.
Yeah, that's great. That's clean football because it's Pittsburgh, of course. Yes. Yeah, sure. In terms of what's on the line.
He can't put up less than that. He can't have turnovers and the Steelers lose.
He can't have turnovers and the Steelers lose.
Yeah, I don't see him having a mistake-prone game and still being able to win the game. He doesn't have a team that can overcome mistakes on his end.
Stranger things have happened in this matchup over the years.
There are stranger things that have happened, but what's likely?
What's likely is that this is going to be a big one, and the Ravens can clinch a playoff.
You squirmed out of it.
I'm not squirming out. I don't even know what you're arguing right now. This is a massive game on a number of levels. I don't think it's all that I don't think it's all that out there to say that a Lamar-like Jackson 5 performance or an MVP-like performance that would vault him into front runner position will happen against Pittsburgh.
You don't think that he's going to help his MVP case against Pittsburgh? That's your prediction?
I think what I'm getting at is even in a win, because of Ravens Steelers, I think it's likely that Lamar will not move the needle because of the way Steelers Ravens is, because of the rivalry. That's to me, it's not. It doesn't feel like that's all that much sticking my neck out there with that one.
Well, I mean, do I expect him to put up crazy numbers like the way he did against the Giants?
No,
those type numbers versus the Steelers.
No.
And if the MVP voters view it that way, that it's like if he had a 2 to 3 touchdown game win over the Steelers and they don't feel like that helps him against Josh in a win over the Pats, then it's a double standard because if his 5 touchdown game doesn't count very much against the Giants, then why should it count for Josh against the Patriots?
Sure.
So you might, you're probably speaking the reality of what is in the MVP voters' minds, but it would be a double standard then.
Well, it's coming up on Saturdays. If they can clinch a playoff berth with a win over Pittsburgh, the Ravens can, or losses by the Colts and Dolphins on Sunday. Colts play host to Tennessee. Dolphins play host to San Francisco. And then, like we mentioned already a couple times this stream, you've got Pittsburgh winning. If Pittsburgh wins on Saturday, they take the division.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Ravens win, they extend their chances of going after it. In terms of where Pittsburgh is right now, they're coming off a loss to Philadelphia, like we mentioned earlier on. The Eagles have won 10 straight games. And despite all the noise, they're just chugging right along. 27-13 was the final. Big nights for these two guys on the screen, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But looking at it most importantly from a Baltimore perspective, T.J. Watt has a low ankle injury. He is their game wrecker. Mike Tomlin just a short while ago says that he is optimistic that T.J. will play. And Sarah, without Watt, they are a different team. Go look up the record. It's like 1-9 or 1-10 or something without big number 90. He is a game changer for them.
Oh, for sure. And the offense is a different team without George Pickens. I feel like we saw that yesterday. It was just like the Steelers really didn't have a run game. And when it did start going, the whole game flipped on it, the Najee Harris fumble. It was neck and neck until then. Jeremy Fowler over the weekend, he kind of gave, this was his report when he was on ESPN. He said that Pickens had a grade 2 hamstring. So it says likely at least a couple of weeks. They're hopeful though for next week. So he's like, it's likely that he'll be out a couple of weeks, which would mean he could still miss Ravens and Chiefs for that matter, because they're so close together. But they're still hopeful, I think, against the Ravens. So, but they without George Pickens, there's nobody for Wilson in that do or die moment to like throw it up on a one-on-one and try to flip the field. They just don't have that. So with Pickens and TJ Watt, those are massive, massive, massive injuries to watch going into this game. But you said they're hopeful for Watt. Is that what you said?
Optimistic. Mike Tomlin just shared that specific.
I don't know if
phrasing.
I don't know if he's got the same coach speak as John Harbaugh, but optimistic from John Harbaugh doesn't mean like I remember when Roquan. Oh yeah, Roquan. We can't rule him out at all. And this was, and then he was out. And so, I don't know how to gauge that, but they're obviously massive. And if those two guys aren't there, the Ravens should have a much, much better chances. But we wish no lingering injury on anybody. It's fine. It's the Ravens got to take care of business, whether they're there or not.
Big point here is that without George Pickens, this is a different looking, different performing Steelers offense.
Yeah.
And Calvin Austin led the way for them in receiving last night, 5 for 65. Pat Freiermuth, their tight end, 3 for 22. And after that, just a bunch of dudes that had a catch here, a catch there. So anyway, TJ Watt's going to do anything and everything within his power to be available.
Yeah.
But offensively speaking, if they can't put up points and Pickens isn't available, advantage Ravens, obviously.
I mean, if they don't have Watt running after Lamar, I mean, you just think of this offensive line that the Ravens have. I mean, that's just like Roger Rosengarten and Fa'alele, like all of them. It's like they could just breathe so much easier. So, but if he's out there, they better be ready. They got to prepare as if he's ready.
Yeah.
A couple of other things from that game. Ken McCusick just making a note that for those idolizing Tomlin over Harbaugh, did you see the timing of that timeout prior to the punt at Q2, 1:26 approximately? So Ken just kind of making a point that he doesn't have perfect game management. All coaches have their moments. And Roquan Smith, when he was asked about the Steelers, believe me when I tell you, during the bye week, they were already planning for the Steelers. I don't know that they put out too much, film for the Giants, which is one reason why Tez Walker got in there and got his touchdown. Roquan Smith said on playing the Steelers, we know what's on the line. It's the division title. You're willing to put everything on the line for that. I know personally I'm ready to go out on my shield, check your manhood, do your job. You do that, we'll win the game. Check your manhood. That sounds like a Ray Lewis type line.
Yeah.
And John Harbaugh said the attention, because they said, now can you turn your attention to the Steelers? Harbaugh said the attention has already been turned to the Steelers. They looked at them over the bye.
I hope so. I hope so, because this team has been unfamiliar, unrecognizable in recent matchups with the Steelers. That's just the facts. The numbers behind the projected chances to win the AFC North heading into Week 16, according to ESPN Analytics and tweeted by Jameson, still favor Pittsburgh, 70.2%, Ravens, 29.8%. Now, going into the game itself, and some of this has to do with home field territory, Baltimore's a 6.5-point home favorite. So
it's a little bit larger than I had anticipated.
Me too.
But maybe Vegas is factoring in Watt and Pickens.
Could be. And this was probably tweeted out, both of these things, prior to Watt's optimistic label that whatever, for what it's worth,
right.
From Vegas, Mike Tomlin there.
Vegas doesn't care about coach speak. I can promise you that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
The way the playoff picture looks hasn't really changed much in terms of the Ravens as things stand. They would still match up if the postseason began today in Houston in a 5th versus 4th seed matchup with the Texans.
And so I just wanted to point out, going into the ESPN playoff machine, this explains why Jameson was saying that the Ravens, so he said the Ravens can clinch, a playoff berth. Okay, that was different than this. Even if the Ravens win on Saturday, the two teams would have a tied record. So then you would go to head-to-head to split the tie, and they would both be 1-1 if the Ravens win. So then you would go to division opponents, and if the Ravens win, they would be tied there also, your record in the division. So then the third tiebreaker would be your win percentage in conference games, and in that, the Steelers would win the tiebreaker. So that is why, even if the Ravens win on Saturday, the Steelers would still own the top spot. And what would need to happen going forward is that the Steelers lose another and the Ravens win another. So even then it wouldn't be finished. That's why I'm saying, like, there's an uphill battle. It can't just be when the Steelers beat the Steelers and you're fine. Like, you got to go on and continue to run the table.
And that's why at the time, and you didn't know whether or not to truly mark these as being, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the Vegas and the Cleveland losses could come back to bite them. I mean, those are both in conference games, when it comes to deciding the division. And at the time, you don't know how they're going to come back to bite you. But those are two examples that when you pull up the schedule, it just sticks out like a sore thumb, those two L's. Not only because of where those two teams, yeah, exactly. Who they were, who they've become, and everything in between.
Absolutely. But I mean, you couldn't ask, and if you're the NFL and you want to have ratings and all of that, you couldn't ask for a better setup heading into this game. It's your classic Ravens Steelers. It's going to be, you've got your Hard Knocks crew inside. It's Harbaugh, Tomlin. It's Lamar fighting for his life with MVP. They're trying to change narratives. I mean, there's just so much on the line this weekend. And outside of it being a playoff game, it doesn't get much bigger than this.
And on the other side of the aisle, too, as much as we've spent talking about the MVP discussion, which is very much like a Baltimore versus Buffalo fan base tirade kind of type thing. I think you pulled in something that has Pittsburgh wondering if the panic button should be pressed or not after this loss.
Yeah, so on Get Up, that's kind of the question they asked. So Tomlin's answer is pretty funny. First, the media asking him about what this loss means going forward, and then the Get Up crew asked, should they be panicking? Here's how all that went down.
How do you keep this loss from snowballing and carrying into the next 2 games?
It's a loss. I mean, let's not get dramatic.
I just got to pause it there first. That is the way you have to answer that. Now, the question is real, though, because they have, 3 games in 11 days, and the Ravens have the same, but they started off with the loss. The Ravens started with an easy win against the Giants. And so, but that's exactly, let's not get dramatic, he says. But Rex Ryan's not trying to hear that, because then Rex Ryan got dramatic.
What an answer. So, and that's exactly the right thing, obviously,
Absolutely.
for him to say he's as good a coach as we've seen in the league in a very long time. However, if you are a fan of the Steelers, should you be panicking?
Yeah, you should. And I'm going to tell you that they're not as good as their record says they are. I mean, they really aren't. He's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. But ever since Russ took over, and this is why I like Justin Fields better. The impact that Russ has had on the rushing game, they're absolutely atrocious running the football now.
Yeah. So
they have gotten to be very below average. And I believe Najee Harris fumbled yesterday too.
Yeah,
so.
that's what I said. It turned the game.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's what turned the game. It was neck and neck until that happened.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if I follow him on that, though, because I think Russ opened up their offense in a way that Justin couldn't. And now they have balance, but perhaps they're imbalanced because it's taken away from the rushing attack, which is what Rex is getting at.
Right. No, that's exactly it. Is he just feels like as a defensive coordinator, he's arguing from that point of view. He's like, it would be easier to stop Russ, especially without George Pickens, because you always as a defense want to stop the run first. And the run game has just been decimated since they put Russ in the lineup. And so he's like, great. So now I don't have to worry about that. And now all I have to worry about is stopping Russ without legitimate wide receivers. So whereas if you put in Fields, he's like, now I got to worry about a guy who impacts the run game. And now I have to worry about that. And then the passing game. So that's his point. Although I'm with you. I mean, again, he's the defensive coordinator, but I just feel like the offense has been better since Russell Wilson was put in the lineup. And then in terms of panicking, why in the world would the Steelers panic when they've won, is it 8 out of the last 9 or 9 out of the last 10 against the Ravens? Like, I hope they do panic. I hope they do start to feel a little squirmish and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, they're not going to panic against a division rival whose number they've had. And so hopefully the Ravens aren't, banking on that either. I'm sure they're not. But this, like I said, with so much on the line, I'm sure both teams are going to come in with the appropriate attitude towards the other.
You got to like the way this is setting up for the Ravens rushing defense. Obviously, they're the top ranked group in the entire league, but you also get big Mike Pierce back as a run stuffer specialist that he is, along with Travis Jones, who, yes, was hobbling around during points of yesterday's game in the Meadowlands, but this is a group that can absolutely clog up space in the middle. And I get the sense that they're going to have some success doing that. Can they stop the pass? Remains to be seen. But as we've shown in recent days and in recent weeks, since week 11, they're trending in the right direction in a number of categories in that passing category from a defensive perspective. Some observations on snap counts as compiled by Jeff Zrebiec of The Athletic from yesterday's win over the Giants. As he writes it, Nate Wiggins starts and plays all but 7 snaps. Ardarius Washington goes the distance after initially not traveling with the team on Saturday. Desmond King played a role in his Ravens debut, including as a punt return specialist, taking over for Tylan Wallace. And Sarah, as we were sort of speculating yesterday and waiting for these final count numbers to come out, Trenton Simpson had no defensive role until garbage time. So that meant he was benched through the first 3 quarters.
Demoted maybe is the right. Yeah.
Demoted.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were wondering. You brought it up first. I feel like you mentioned it to me before our show even started. And so, listen, I think that's the correct decision based off of how he's playing and also how it has impacted Roquan, I think, since the Ravens have rotated the two more veterans. Harrison, I don't even know is a veteran, but obviously he's got more time than Simpson and more experience. But as soon as that's happened, Roquan's been playing better. They're where they're supposed to be. But just to be clear, while I think this is the correct decision in the short term this year in what the Ravens are trying to accomplish, in no way have I given up on Trenton Simpson long term. I'm still hoping that he's on the Patrick Queen trajectory where he starts to come alive more in his third and fourth years in the league. So, but the Ravens have not been shy in making personnel changes on that defensive side of the ball.
Well, and probably no coincidence, as you just alluded to, that Roquan is grading out like the top-ranked player, the highest-graded Raven in Week 15 against the Giants. And yes, we understand the lack of offensive attack that they have right now in New York, but Rowe comes out as an 87 flat. That's the highest-graded Raven. Lamar just below him at 86.2. Rashod Bateman, who we'll hear from in just a second, 85.6 after a career day for him, at least in terms of his first career multi-touchdown performance. Daniel Fa'alele sneaks his way into the top 5, and Ardarius Washington rounds out this group. This is all the minimum threshold is 25 snaps. And Sarah, how about a small little victory lap and a powerful little comment here from Rashod Bateman post-game speaking with reporters?
I think I've shown myself that I am what I say I am. And, hopefully that I've showed the Ravens fans, this organization, Coach Harbs, Monk, whoever, that I am a playmaker. Earning Lamar's trust, teammates' trust, it's been big.
7 touchdowns on the year, Sarah, 654 yards receiving in 14 games so far this year. And hard not to be happy for number 7.
Oh, very happy. Very happy for number 7. And I literally have the mental image of his touchdowns yesterday. I mean, both of them were spectacular. The way he got open on the deep 49-yard touchdown and had a smooth stutter step that had his defender completely turned around. And then that second one in the end zone where he's like leaping as if it's slow motion and grabs the ball and gets 2 feet in like it's nothing. He was absolutely sensational. And so the next step, and he's met ever since he's re-signed with the Ravens in the offseason and he's been healthy, he has checked the box for every test that's come his way. It's like, can you stay healthy? He's done that. He left for a half against the Eagles, but otherwise has been healthy. Can you be on pace for about 850 yards? He's certainly on the pace. You're checking that. Can you be a deep threat? Yes, you can. All that. Can you develop chemistry with Lamar? Check. You've done that with Lamar. You guys are more on the same page. The last one is the same one for, not the last one, but the next one is the same one that's out there for almost all Ravens, which is you're not a Raven until you beat the Steelers. So can he come up big for his team in tough moments, in tight windows? If Lamar's on the run, can he be there for him there? Same with all the Ravens. It's time. It's time for so many of these guys to become a Raven and beat the Steelers for the first time. That's the next step. And I love the confidence he has going into that next game.
Hey, don't forget, too, that had Lamar not underthrown him on one of his routes, he could have had three touchdowns yesterday.
Yeah.
So that was the type of dominant performance that he had against a Giants team that obviously is just searching for answers. Another guy who start stacking, some games is the rookie right tackle Roger Rosengarten. And as Gordon McGinnis tweeted out, Rodgers allowed just 2 pressures on 141 pass blocking snaps, which includes 75 true pass sets over the past 4 games. So while the entire group, Sarah, collectively has left some to be desired against elite defensive fronts, and we know that, Roger quietly is putting together a very stable rookie season at right tackle.
Again, I have the same commentary that I have for Bateman. Like, I just feel like he's been checking every box as a rookie, just getting better and better and better. And then that next step, especially if TJ Watt is out there, it's to take care of Lamar against guys like that. And of course, he would need help. He would need some chipping, all that kind of stuff. Even the best tackles in the league do. 2 pressures on 141 passing over the last 4 games. Okay, so obviously the Giants didn't pose a major threat in the pass rush department. Then it was the bye. Who were the other teams? I guess Philly. That's a big deal. And the Steelers, right?
And the Chargers.
Yep. Chargers? But what's the game before the Chargers? Is that the Steelers?
Pittsburgh. Yep.
Yeah. So that includes the Steelers game. Okay. All right.
Yeah. No
I like
pushover,
that.
right?
I like
Aside
that.
from New York, no pushover. Philly, LA, and Pittsburgh. So
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
that's a
Roger.
notable statistic.
Do it again.
Right?
Do it
Stack.
again.
Keep stacking, Big 70.
The
Good for him.
question here with him, especially once the offseason starts, is, and I discussed this when you were out last week for the funeral. But it's like, do you feel confident enough for him to take over left tackle? And if not, would you like to keep him and Ronnie together? And if you want to keep Ronnie, how much are you going to pay him? Because according to PFF, Ronnie is ranked the 8th best free agent heading into unrestricted free agency in March.
Hard to forget what Tyler Columbus told us not long after the Ravens drafted him. He confidently told us that he will absolutely be their left tackle of the future. Now, that's a lot of confidence there as somebody who coached him in high school, but it's also somebody that has a Super Bowl ring with the Denver Broncos and was a pretty darn good offensive lineman himself. So those words hold some weight. And you brought in something on Tez here.
Sorry, I didn't realize that you had PFF grades also. So this was actually just, if you didn't have the minimum of 25 snaps.
Oh yeah.
Tez Walker is also the number one PFF graded guy, but he did not have 25 snaps. So and then Nelson Aguilar had like 1 catch, so he's in there. This is again when you've got to control with the minimum. But on the defensive side, I like seeing Nate Wiggins in there, especially with how many snaps he had, or Darius with how many snaps he had, and then Michael Pierce sneaks in there. So Tavius Robinson, I mean, all good stuff. You just get more of a list here when we get in grades for offense and defense.
Yep. Let's get to some more super chats. Gabe writes, I don't mind Lamar not winning MV3 if Henry goes off. That's how the narrative changes without him going off. Just be a game manager. Adam,
I don't mind him not winning if he deserves to not win by the end of these 3 games.
Time will tell. Adam 78 writes, do you get last season Lamar had an average quarterback stat? Lamar had average quarterback stats last season and won MVP due to the number 1 seed and the team record. This year, Allen is doing the same. Allen 900. Yeah, he's just the odds here. Allen is minus 900 and Lamar plus 650. I'm not sure what sportsbook that came from, but that checks out with what I've seen.
Yes, on the sports it's true, but it's not true. Allen's the number 2 seed. Lamar was number 1 seed, so there's that.
Yeah.
And then also, a lot of Bills fans have somehow convinced everybody that Allen was number 2 in MVP voting. He was number 5. He had 18 interceptions. So it's not about, it wasn't just like everybody keeps saying, well, Allen had the better stats last year. No, he didn't. If you go and look it up, they're like 50-50. Like Lamar has some stats where he's better than Allen, and then Allen, it's like 50-50. But the big thing that hurt Allen was his 18 interceptions. And so somehow Bills Mafia has been able to convince people that Allen was number 2. He was 5th in MVP voting, and stats mattered. And it was especially the 18 interception stat that really mattered in Allen's case.
And he's really cleaned it up. 5 interceptions through 14 games this year. That was absolutely an area of focus as you dissected him last year. Chef Trez writes, Lamar was an MVP last year and lost to the Steelers and Chiefs. What are we talking about? Can we start preparing for the Steelers? Angie writes, let's be real. Josh plays in a trash division. Let's see him get those numbers in the AFC North. Easy to be bullied.
Easy to be a bully.
Easy to be a bully when play beat up and crap teams. I'm just going to read them as they come in.
I love it when you do that.
I'm going to read them as they come in. Thank you, Angie, for the super chat donation. I never mean to come across as demeaning. I just always like to sound polished, and when I'm not polished, it drives me nuts. So there you go. But it's, it's funny. The AFC North this year, unlike last year, remember, all teams finished 500 or better last year for the first time in like years and years and years and years and years. That has not been the case this year. And while I think there's obviously harder, more competitive divisions, Cincinnati's the best 6-8 team that I think I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
If team record had nothing to do with it, Burrow would be squarely in this conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Gabe writes, me, am moving B Steve back to running back. Oh, man. He also writes, Ben saying
There's
that
no
our
room on the
Bears-
running back chart. We're trying to get Keaton in there. We're not getting Stevens over there.
Can you imagine? Yeah, we're actually going to move him back. Keaton, we're going to move you to corner.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. Gabe says, Ben saying AD is Bob Sanderish, Target version. I believe our Darius Washington is who he's referring to. Rave says, get 21 off my field. Ben at center, y'all funny. Ravens. Nan says, I see why the players call Allen the most overrated player in the NFL. He is having a great year, but folks talking like it's the best in history.
You
What
remember
I
that?
think he's referring to, was that a player-driven survey?
It was a player survey. I can't remember if it was Athletic or ESPN, but players, said he was the most overrated. That was after the 2023 season. Who knows how they would feel this year?
Okay.
Yeah.
Not sure why Sunday's game between Buffalo and New England would be flexed, but it's being flexed to 425 coming up on Sunday, even though the Patriots are, irrelevant.
I don't know who else is in that 425 slot, maybe. I don't
guess
know.
it's just about getting Josh more eyes on him.
Right, because how many games are being played on Saturday? And like good games?
Yeah, I'd have to look ahead. Several of them.
Yeah.
Including the Ravens and Steelers, which is a Fox game, by the way. Can't remember the last time.
Wait, Ravens Steelers is Fox?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I can't remember the last time Pittsburgh Baltimore was aired on Fox, but it is.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's probably because they need to have one. And so the Saturday games is Texans Chiefs. I imagine that's the AFC game. And that's at 2. And then it's Steelers Ravens. And then you got Broncos Chargers on Thursday night. And so I guess it's just because Fox has to have one of the two.
And Cameron's right. I wonder if it's going to be, as far as Saturday's concerned, I wonder if it's A-Team, Brady, Burkhardt, Rinaldi coming up on Saturday for the rivalry.
Now, in terms of the other 4 o'clock games, well, they could have flexed Eagles Commanders because they're at 1.
Oh, this is a 4:30 window. This is definitely going to be A-Team for Fox. Sorry, I'm just
but I'm just saying if they were going to flex somebody,
like
wouldn't Eagles Commanders have been a more compelling game?
Yes.
But, that's NFC, so maybe this is because it's on CBS.
Hey, everybody, make sure you mark your notes accordingly. The Netflix game is coming up. Christmas Day is Netflix, so plan accordingly. Netflix on Christmas Day.
Oh, yeah. Plan accordingly. So did you already say this? Is Tom Brady going to call the game? Oh, okay. Well,
my thought was, as soon as I saw it was Fox, and then I saw it was I was reminded that it was a 4:30 kickoff. I was like, yeah, it's going to be the A-Team.
Yeah.
So as far as Christmas Day, I haven't looked that far ahead yet, but I do know that RG3 is going to be involved with Christmas Day NFL broadcast. So it's good to see him back employed.
Good. So if Lamar plays well, we can have somebody on the national crew speaking, not downplaying that.
Oh, you already know he's one text away. Love him. Love him. All right. Well, good stuff. Appreciate you guys for being with us on this day after. Very different than most day after games, just because I think when you look at the other games that were played, particularly Philly and Pittsburgh and the significance of that versus Detroit and Buffalo, there just wasn't going to be a whole lot of national reaction outside of the MVP race.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we acted accordingly there, and this stream reflected that.
So one thing we should be aware of, since it's a Saturday game, today being Monday will be treated as a Tuesday, which means Tuesday will be like a Wednesday, right? So Friday, there will be no media availability because that would have been a Saturday. The question just is, do they still do John Harbaugh's Monday presser and then go straight into like the regular Wednesday pressers tomorrow?
Okay.
So I haven't gotten an email yet on that.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just about to ask you, so we will wait and see because there's nothing up on the press room either in terms of game notes. So I'm sure they're working tirelessly.
I don't see anything at Ravens_comms, which sometimes they announce it there.
Gotcha.
So we'll see.
All right. In terms of patrons, Alistair and Patrick, we appreciate you both for being a part of the Vault Patreon community. Thank you for your support that you give the show. If you guys are interested in doing the same, you can do so for as little as $1.99. It goes directly towards our daily efforts to bring you daily year-round Ravens content. And that is patreon.com/Ravens Ravens Vault podcast. You can learn more by visiting the show notes. You can find all of our social media outlets and handles in the show notes. And if you could, on the way out, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. So yeah, thanks for the reminder on that. Should be a little bit different in terms of media availability this week. So just stay tuned. We'll be around, and we'll be back with you in under 23 hours from right now. Anything else from you, partner?
I don't think so. Great show. A lot of passion today. Love it.
Love it. Love it.
Hey,
Never
hey, just a
confused
reminder. I got love for the voters and Josh. I just like to passionately argue the debate. That's all.
And me.
Love for all of them.
And me.
And
Contrary to
you.
popular belief, she actually doesn't want to take my head off. Okay?
No, hey, just for those, because some people are like, what are they arguing about? And you ask the same question. It's more a pushback. To me, it's people say, or I'd rather have a Super Bowl MVP than a regular season MVP. And to me, it's like, why are you even ranking them? They're both possible. And so when you were ranking them, that's what I'm pushing back against. Like, why even rank them? They're all one and the same with a win. And with Lamar playing well, they're all the same. So that's what I was pushing back against, but I didn't articulate it very well.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. You know, we love a good ranking here, and we love a good disagreement.
Yes, we do.
It was barely even a disagreement, but hey, what are you going to do? And now, of course, Bobby Buffalo comes out in the chat. Of course, you just
are you like why? Like, are you a secret? Let's just get this out there. Are you a secret Bills fan?
I think I would tell everyone if I was a fan in general. If I was a fan in general of a specific team, you guys would be the first to know. And if that changes, you will be the first to know. I think when it started going in that direction was when I was simply rattling off some research that I had done for today's show. And that was to give the Buffalo perspective, or at least one of the Buffalo's perspectives, which was how much Josh has lost personnel-wise.
Right.
And so when I started ripping off those pieces, the Milanos due to injury, Stefan going to Houston, losing Gabe.
I can't help you. Sorry.
It's okay.
Like sometimes I know who you're talking about. I don't know who Gabe.
Son of a. They lost a wide receiver named Gabe, and it's just slipping my mind in free agency. They lost Micah Hyde. Thank you, Gabe Davis. Sip the tally first on it. As always, Coach
Gabe
Evans
Davis.
in the building.
Thank you.
Gabe Davis, and then losing Micah Hyde defensively. Anyway, long story short, I was just trying to provide a little bit of context, and then of course, the onslaught happens.
Yeah. No, which is fair. I like it that we have, like, I want to hear the Bills' best arguments, and then I want to give the Ravens' best arguments. And so I'm glad that you do that. And so bring all the arguments to the table and let's hash it out. And at the very least, I know that we both agree that we shouldn't be declared over by the MVP voters after week 15.
Definitely. Likewise. You always bring it as well. We wouldn't want anything less from one another. And some are asking about the Friday night DC dates. I'll just say this. I'll say this.
I need a little bit of an update too. I got a small one yesterday.
Yeah, you actually don't have. And how about this? You don't have the latest. We got to talk on the hour, apparently.
Yeah, seriously.
But so basically,
can I tell them the text you sent me or no on Friday night?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I love you. You're so transparent. I would not let you do this for me.
Hit me.
Okay, Friday night, I'm at a Christmas party. Okay. Oh my gosh, I've had a ton of texts. Where is Bobby? Friday night, I'm sitting there at this Christmas party, and I get this message from Bobby, and I knew he was in DC on his date. And this is the text. Bobby says, Mrs. Trossett may have been found tonight. On his first date.
It felt so right in the moment, and now it feels so wrong.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much. Okay, but give the next update after that.
Oh, that's so classic. Why did it feel so right at the moment?
It felt so right.
As I told you later on, I thought it was a really good first date. I did.
Yeah.
And I have to shout out our friend Evan, who just won the homage giveaway last week, because he is a DC-based chef, and he set me up for success trying to find a restaurant, or in this case, a place to get pre-dinner drinks since she had dinner plans, in DuPont Circle. And I thought his recommendation was fantastic. It was a Korean restaurant called Anju. Yeah, I just thought it went well to the point where she was late to her dinner, as I told you. And then, of course, in today's day and age.
And you were trying to be like, hey, I know you got to leave. I know you got to leave. And she's like, no, it's fine. I can stay.
Absolutely.
So you're feeling good. You're feeling good.
I was trying to be, I didn't want her to think that just because I'd come down from Baltimore that she needed to stick around. So, and anyway, by the way, I had bibimbap or bibimbap. I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but the Korean.
I call it bibimbap, but I think it might be bibibop.
No, I think you're right. Actually,
bibimbap,
it was.
It's so good. I have one like down the road from me. Like we go frequently. Yeah.
Oh, it was electric. So, and I thought the date was electric as well. But in today's day and age, the challenge becomes the games that are often played after the first date. And so I decided to shoot a text the next day, midday or so, saying, enjoyed hanging out with you. And then made a joke about, like an inside joke about the date that we had, which was very much just like standard.
Okay.
And it went unanswered until 9 o'clock last night.
I told you to give her time. I said, Bobby, give her time. I'm terrible with texts. I'm terrible.
So classic of you, because listen, now you're going to take your victory
I text
lap.
when it's convenient. I respond to text when it's convenient for me. My phone is convenient for me, not for you. And if you want to take a day or two to respond to me, that's fine, unless it's work related. Work related, I'm there. But personal related, I'm bad. But yes, go ahead. Talk about my victory lap. Give it to me.
What did I tell you last night, though?
What?
My counter to you was, I appreciate your optimism, but if somebody's really fired up about a first date, are they going to take 30 hours to respond?
Okay, first, tell me what she said in the response. I mean, was it a good response or was it like a stiff arm?
Standby.
Oh, standby. Okay.
I'm giving you guys know how we do it. I'm giving you exact wording.
Okay.
I'm probably shooting my dating life in the foot while doing so, but why not? All right. 1:10 p.m. on Saturday. Awesome hanging with you last night from me.
Okay.
I got bibimbap for dinner after you left, and it was a top 20 meal I've ever had. So I didn't ask a question.
You gave it top 20.
Out there. Yep.
Okay. I'm wondering what the other 19 are, but go ahead. Proceed.
There's a classic me exaggerating. I probably couldn't even tell you the 19.
I know.
It's hyperbolic. I'm like Rex Ryan. So then last night, 9:20, again, the text went out to me, or from me to her, to follow up on the date. Post date, Saturday, 1:10. Dinner, the drinks were the night before, Friday night. 9:20 last night, meaning Sunday.
Okay.
Yes! Exclamation point. Glad to hear. Thanks for the drinks! Exclamation point. How was the game?
Okay. So she's opening up a convo.
And then I wrote back something and asked her a question. So.
And did she write back?
No, but I just. Okay. Well, the key piece here.
Yeah.
Is that I waited until. I guess some of this was intentional, but I waited till 10:43 this morning.
Oh, you're playing games back. Listen, if this is truly the future Mrs. Bobby Trossett, as you texted me, you would just lay it out there. You don't need to play games back. Okay, let me just rephrase that. That's not what you should do. But I do think if it's the future Mrs. Bobby Trossett, you should get to know her and see what type of communicator she is.
So my plan is to try and sneak in another one before the holiday begins, because she's going to be skipping town for multiple weeks based on what we talked about the other night. She put me in the ice tray for 30 hours. It's smack dab during the weekend. To me, it's principle that if I were to have wrote back like my sister and her boyfriend wanted me to when I briefed them last night right away,
yeah,
that to me kind of signals like, man, this dude just lays down. I ain't laying down.
Oh. Okay.
King Lee goes, so no Madison? People are still catching up on Madison.
Well, because they know her. And also, how about this? You sent the same text to Evan?
Also received that same text. No way. Did I? I might have shot that sucker around, to be honest with you. Let's see. Evan and I are texting buddies as of the other night, too. Let's see.
Let's see what you gave to. What'd you say to Evan?
Oh, and his response is great. So I copied and pasted that. I did because I was
Okay.
sitting there alone eating my bibimbap like a loser in this Anju place, right?
Why?
And he
Because she
writes
had to
back-
leave for the dinner.
Yeah, but I was fine. I wanted to eat. Like it was a really cool spot.
Yeah.
Evan crushed it. So Evan writes back to me. First dates are like Ravens football. You may have a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, but no lead ever feels safe. Which spot did you all end up going to? Oh man.
That was a good one, Evan. That's a good one.
So anyway.
So what are you saying? You're done with the future Mrs. Bobby Trossett because it took her 30 hours to reply?
Oh no, I'm just kind of being careful about how I go about this.
All right. Okay. I mean, you were. It's fine. It's probably good that you pulled back a little bit anyway because you were very excited. So,
Tila says, "Move on, Bobby." She read your text and rolled her eyes and went to a different app. Oof.
Oh, Tila, that's not true, Tila. I'll get texts on my watch all the time, and I'll look at it, and I'll be like in the middle of something. And I'll be like, okay, I'll get back, and then like suddenly I get back 30 hours later.
Yep. Hey, Sidarian says, "Just stop falling so fast they can see it." I'm being open with you guys. This is not how I'm. This is not how I'm acting. With
no,
the
you're
girls
too
that I'm
smooth for
talking
that
to.
in the moment. You're too smooth for that in the moment. Yeah.
And for the record, for like the 1000th time, I like Madison. She's cool, but she lives in Nashville and hasn't necessarily been receptive to a few feelers that I've put out about what we could do meeting up wise. So just to throw that out there, I like Madison.
Okay.
I'm not like leaning away from Madison.
But you have to keep dating. She's
right.
in
And I'm sure and as I've said, I'm sure she's doing the same thing. Chef says, "I'm sure glad I'm spoken for." Yeah.
Me too.
Eric can agree. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the game that you play, that's your dating segment, guys. Impromptu, as promised. Thanks, live chat, for inquiring. We did get another super chat, multiple super chats. Let's see. Wildlife says, lover boy Bobby.
Bobby Loverboy.
And Gabe says she was buffering like Netflix on Christmas. Appreciate it, guys. You guys crack me
I
up.
swear on my life, if we buffer on Christmas, I'm going to be ticked.
Oof. Don't
do that.
Oof. All right. Well, with that, you guys will continue to be updated, especially if we sneak something in between now and
Cologne update.
Oh, yeah.
Chad is asking. Literally in our pre-show production meeting, I really got Bobby excited. I don't know what you thought it was, but me and Bobby are talking about the rundown for the show and who's going to grab which clips and and which slides. And look, he even paid $2 to get it. There we go.
What up, Deshaun?
In the middle of us talking about the show, I'm looking at my phone and I get a notification from Era 8 Apparel. And I yelled at Bobby. I'm like, Bobby, guess what email I just got? And he's like silent. He has like no guesses. I was like, the cologne has shipped. And he's like, well, that was that was an underwhelming announcement. He thought it was gonna be much bigger, but I don't know what email you thought I was referring to. But it has shipped. Remember, we have a 3-day ground via UPS. So let's give it 3 days, but it has officially shipped since this morning. So it'll be here later this week. So we will do a smelling test.
The biggest winner in all this is the teenager by the name of Gardner Ellison.
That's right.
That's the biggest winner, a.k.a. your oldest, who's going to be rocking this inevitably. And I cannot wait to hear
it. It is unisex. What if I like it?
True.
Right?
But you made the reference.
And even if it is, and not only is it unisex, but he says he likes the female perfume smell. So maybe it might lean more female. So maybe I want, you know what I mean? I don't know.
But you did make the point that Gardy is a lot more aware of his hygiene. So
no. Whoa.
Of his appearance?
Aroma? Hygiene. Like he's more specific on his cologne smells.
Okay.
I would definitely say his 44-year-old mom is better at hygiene than the 15-year-old teenager.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I would hope so. But he also needs to catch up. Let's go, Gardy. It ain't going to get any easier.
No. He smells fine. Everybody smells fine in the Ellison household, but let's just make this clear.
Fair. Deshaun, thank you for making sure we were reminded of that. Appreciate you guys for being with us as always. We'll be back with you in under 23 hours from right now. And who knows, there'll be plenty. Maybe there'll be another update. You never know how today's texting conversation will unfold. But for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Monday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. It was brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep. You can support us by supporting our brand partner by visiting the show notes below or mantasleep.com or the link that we have included as a pinned comment in the live chat. And for now, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off for Sarah Ellison and company. Thanks to all of you for spending part of your Mondays with us. And as always, thank you for spending